What's up, college football fans? This is Greg Schnoes, host of the Schnoes Knows podcast, and we've got an interesting one for you tonight, courtesy of Steve Sarkisian's comments from the Touchdown Club of Houston the other day, and where they have sent in the direction of Texas Tech. He didn't necessarily say a specific team. He just said somebody in our state that plays in another conference, which could mean any number of different teams, but it is being viewed as shots fired at Texas Tech. And sure, why not? Let's just go with that because that's probably more than likely who it was. And I think it's kind of funny. First and foremost, again, thank you for checking the show out. Like and subscribe if you can, please. That always helps us out. We do appreciate it. But yeah, let's talk about it. Steve Sarkisian did say it. This is the quote verbatim that I have here. There's a team in our state that plays in another conference that has a schedule that I would argue if I played with our 2s and 3s, we would go undefeated and they'll probably make the college football playoff this year. Unquote. Woo! Shots fired right there. That's essentially directed at Texas Tech, saying Big 12 is not exactly the best conference or anything close to it. SEC, Big 10, those are the two elites. ACC, obviously, Miami got in there this year to the national championship game from the ACC, but they've kind of been in behind those other two conferences. Obviously, the Big Ten has had the championships more recently. SEC had their run of dominance. But now Texas finds himself in the SEC conference. And first and foremost, let's just talk about this and the way I look at it. Texas is not scared of Tech. Texas Tech fans, sorry, they're not. You can say all this stuff about, oh, well, what about Sark in the Big 12? He's scared. Okay. What happened the last time they played on the same field? Let's see here. 57-7, 2023. Texas won the Big 12 last year. They were in the conference, got everybody's best shot that year because they were leaving to the SEC. So everybody was trying to just blow up Texas season because they know they're leaving because you think you're better than us and you're leaving us behind. So F you, Texas, is essentially the attitude that every team in the conference had. Texas beat them by 50. 50. Okay, gee, let's look at the overall series. Look at my notes some more here. Texas leads the series 55-18. That's 75% in Texas' favor in the win column. Not scared. Not scared. Sorry, Tech fans. You can clutch your tortillas all you want. Clutch your pearls / tortillas because you know that's what you're thinking. Oh, let's see. Also, Texas has the largest victory in the history of this series and the longest win streak as well. If we go from 2000 to 2023, Texas won 19 of those games. What am I missing here? Tech, you made the playoff. Congratulations. How'd that game go for you? Somebody remind me. Some Texas Tech Red Raider fan, please reach out to me and let me know how that game went. It's just slipping my mind. Oh yeah, it was a disaster. Absolute butt kicking from start to finish. Didn't even show up. To say it was an embarrassment is an understatement. And oh, by the way, sure, Texas didn't make it. You have that upon, if you're a Red Raider and you're talking to a Longhorn fan or an alumni or somebody at your job, yes, you have that over Texas. They made the playoff. Texas didn't. Do you really think Tech, if they played that schedule that Texas played last year, Ohio State first thing out of the gate, how's that going? Just saying. Might be look what a lot of those games would probably look like your effort in the college football playoff. Probably don't have a winning record. I'm just saying. Nobody is scared of Texas Tech. Now that we're in this new world of NIL and everybody can pay and Cody Campbell's writing all these big checks saying, oh, why don't you schedule us? Texas is going to be in the SEC for the third year. This coming season is their third season in the Southeastern Conference since leaving the Big 12. Anybody that follows college football knows these out-of-conference schedules are made way, way in advance. You can't just snap your fingers and go, yeah, let's just play Tech this year. Because again, Tech, hate to burst your bubble. Actually, don't burst your bubble. You already know this. In the grand scheme of things, Texas Tech, you're irrelevant. Nobody cares. If you didn't have some billionaire writing checks, do you think any of these recruits would be giving you any sort of mention or shine, anything. You think they're looking at Texas Tech going, yeah, that's where I want to go. Tradition of winning? No. Championships? No. Lovely place to go to spend 3 or 4 years of my life? No. What part about taking money out of that equation makes any of these top recruits want to go to Texas Tech? Let me know. I'll wait. Nobody wants to go to Lubbock. They just don't. You want to know how I know that? Because I've watched it my whole life. I've seen it. I'll be 47 years old this October. You know how many 5-stars have flocked to Lubbock in mass? Never. Because there's nothing there for them to go for. This is strictly money. That's why it's there. Tech, nobody is scared of Tech. Nobody. Look at the numbers. 75% of the wins. Texas owns the series. Won by 50 the last time they played. Owns the longest winning streak when they played. In what scenario in your head, Tech fan, is Texas going, gee, we don't want none of that? And if your only thing is, well, we made the playoff and Texas didn't. Congrats, you did. And you got absolutely just beat down. Like you stole something. You looked awful. Absolute, I mean, almost as bad as A&M. Actually, probably worse than A&M. Congrats to A&M for making the playoff and throwing up an absolute doozy of a performance in that game as well. But yeah, Tech, you got absolutely embarrassed. You finally get on the big stage. You finally go, yeah, here we are. We finally paid everybody, and now we're here. Now that OU and Texas have left the Big 12, now we finally have a chance. And what did you do? You crapped the bed. That's a fact. And that's what you've done more often than not, if not every time you've had this opportunity to be on the big stage in whatever form or fashion in the past years. I mean, my goodness. You know what you are, Tech? You're just like Arkansas. And you wonder why I'm bringing up Arkansas. I had a boss years ago that was a diehard Razorbacks fan. Diehard. Loved him. Good for him. Giving him more misery than anything else most of his lifetime. But that's all I ever heard. Arkansas this, Arkansas that. Oh, my God. Blah, blah, blah. And then when they finally did play Texas, man, it was a huge deal. Oh, man, we're playing Texas. Because when they left the SEC, that was a big rivalry in the Southwest Conference back in the day. Probably, maybe the biggest. Hate to break it to you, everybody else in the Southwest Conference, but Texas was at the top, and Arkansas was probably right behind them, with A&M probably after that, and who cares after that? So my point of bringing up Arkansas is, why does Texas need to schedule Arkansas in out-of-conference games? Now they're in the same conference, so they play all the time. But previously, when they were in the Big 12, Mac Brown realized it was a rivalry and a big deal. Nobody in Texas was clamoring for that matchup. And it bit Texas in the rear end. 2003, Matt Jones. They came to Austin and beat Texas. They played in a bowl game in Cotton Bowl. That was just the way of scheduling went that year at the end of the 99 season. Texas lost that game as well. They were scheduled again in 2004. Texas went on the road and won that game. What did Texas have to gain by winning out on the road at Fayetteville to a team that ultimately, I don't even know what they did that year. Did Arkansas even have a winning record in 2004? Probably not. So teams like Texas Tech and Arkansas and Baylor, we'll throw them in the TCU. All of you, Texas Tech, all of you guys are all lumped into this one category of you have everything to gain for playing Texas and beating Texas. You're rushing the field. You're tearing down the goalposts. It's a huge, huge event. If Texas wins, they sing the Eyes of Texas, they walk off the field, chuck up the deuce, and then they're out. What do they gain by playing that game? You want that game, Texas Tech. You want that game, Baylor. You want that game, TCU. Y'all want that because it benefits you. Because you know why? By wanting that game, you acknowledge that Texas is the bigger brand. Texas is the bigger, shiny object in the grand scheme of college football. That's why you want that game so bad, because you know, oh, they're this, they're that. And you might say, oh, that's just the arrogant Longhorn fan or the way they think, and that's why we love playing. You recognize that Texas is one of the bigger brands. You recognize that Longhorn logo is known all over the world. It is. It just is. That helmet is one of the best in college football. Plenty of people will tell you that. They don't even like Texas or play Texas. Like, oh man, what's one of the best uniforms in college football? They'll say Texas because it's classic. There's no need to change it. There's no need to have 13 different alternates. They don't have to trick it up. They've got the tradition. They've got the winning history. Those are the things that none of these other schools like TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor, they don't have that. So they want more than anything to play somebody like Texas, to knock them down a peg and go, we beat them. Even if the rest of your season goes absolutely down the toilet, like I said, you're tearing down the goalposts. You're rushing the field. It's a huge event. You're never going to forget that for the rest of your life if you're a student at either one of those schools. Oh, man, you're going to talk that for the next, when you go on your reunion 20 years later. Oh, man, you remember that junior year when we beat Texas, tore down the stadium? Oh, man, it was great. Texas beats Texas Tech. What is it? It's just another win among absolute many. Huge pile of W's against Texas Tech. Texas has nothing to gain against this. Cristo Conti will tell you the same. Well, he'll say it in a nicer way than I'm saying it because he's the athletic director. But again, what does Texas have to gain? If they play these type of games, who's going to be favored? Texas is going to be favored by Vegas, probably regardless of where the game's playing, in Austin, in Lubbock, neutral site, playoff, whatever. Texas is probably going to be favored no matter what. So what's that mean? You have the favorite, you have the underdog. Who has more to gain in this? If you look at it strictly from a gambling standpoint, where can you win more money? That ought to tell you something right then and there. The underdog makes way more money. Why? Because nobody thinks they're going to win. That's why if you bet Texas to beat that game, you're going to win nothing because it's expected. So Texas scheduling all these other teams, it enhances your season. It enhances your schedule. If you're Texas, especially now in the SEC, so you're already playing A&M, who's in the SEC. You're playing tough out-of-conference games. Texas has played at Michigan. They played at Ohio State. They've got upcoming games against Notre Dame, where they're going to be going on the road. Obviously, Ohio State's coming back this year. Who has more to gain by Texas going, you know what? Let's cancel that game against Notre Dame and let's schedule Texas Tech. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't want to say you're completely irrelevant, Texas Tech, but in the grand scheme of things, it is what it is. Texas is going to be favored. Texas has the brand. I mean, here's an example. Sydney Sweeney. Beautiful woman. Famous, actress. Could date any guy she wants. That's like me yelling at Sydney Sweeney. I'm the Texas Tech person. Yelling at Sydney Sweeney. Blowing her DMs up. We should go on out on a date. We should go out. Who has more to gain than that situation? Sydney Sweeney, the Longhorn part of the equation, or me, the average nobody guy who's 5'8.5", probably not in the best shape. Could probably need to get in better shape, obviously. Getting gray. She could literally, get anybody she wants. So me yelling at Sydney Sweeney going, well, you just don't want to give me a chance because you never know what you blah, blah, blah. Like me sitting here yapping like a little chihuahua at somebody like her, she has nothing to gain. What good is it? What? I can be as funny and as charming and as sweet and as cool as I can be. She can have whatever she wants or nobody if she wants. But who benefits more from a date between her and I? Just think of it that way. Who has more to gain? Gee, I wonder. The beautiful woman who's the biggest actress in Hollywood right now, one of the biggest names in the acting world, or me, just regular old guy, just regular old Greg, just hanging out here in Dallas, Texas. Hey, Swindy, I like cars too. We might have some similar interests. Her path and my path will probably never cross. And if they do, and I shoot my shot, you never know. Maybe she might want to go out with me. I highly doubt it, though, because her stature, my stature, that's kind of how things are in this world. And when we bring it back to this again, I keep harping on the point. If Texas schedules TCU and they beat them 41-10, Whoopity-doo. It's going to be a blip on Sports Center. They're probably not going to even show many highlights because there's always going to be bigger matchups on a Saturday, right? And other news, Texas hosted former Big 12 Conference team and TCU, and Texas won 41-10. Like, it'll be nothing. They'll show like one highlight. That's it. They'll show like somebody throwing a touchdown and catching a touchdown pass. That's it. They're not going to go in depth about Texas beating up on somebody like that. This doesn't matter. We're going to want to talk about maybe Alabama, LSU, top 10 matchup. They're going to talk about Tennessee, Georgia, big matchup. Something like that. That's more important. That's what the eyes want to see. Nobody is clamoring for Texas to play Texas Tech outside of Lubbock. Nobody in the college football world really cares. Now, the only way this would happen is if they would meet in the CFP. If both teams take care of business. Now, with all this smoke and all this stuff going on here in the offseason, with Sark saying, yeah, we can play with our second and third string in their league, and we can go undefeated, and we get in the CFP, no problem. But she's not wrong. I don't disagree with that statement. Now, there's a whole other line of thinking. Should he have said what he said? Now, if you're somebody that doesn't want to give teams bulletin board material, but again, they don't play each other. I mean, recruiting, I don't know if that hurts you or not, because at the end of the day, money's involved. Tech's going to money whip most of these kids anyway. So I don't know if some kid's sitting on the fence just scratching his head talking to his parents like, Mom, Dad, I don't really know if I like this Sarkisian guy for what he said. Maybe that happens. There's a chance. Maybe somebody looks at that who's in this position, who's a parent or an athlete getting recruited. It's like, oh, he's kind of coming across as a jerk. And why is he saying, like, if they don't even play each other, like, why do you care? Like, I could completely understand that line of thinking. Somebody might just say, I don't get it. I don't necessarily want to play for a coach like that. If he's kind of being petty, sure, maybe that has an impact. Probably about that much. You know what I mean? I just don't think it's a big deal. Oh, by the way, Texas Tech fans. And Cody Campbell. Oh, schedule us. You're scared, Texas. Okay. Has anybody heard of the Brandon Sorsby by any chance over there in Lubbock? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah, the guy that's in rehab for gambling, and I use those air quotes to be smart. I don't want to curse there, but to be sarcastic, a smart aleck. Because this is a kid who bet on his own team when he was at Indiana. This is a guy who you got out of the portal to be your starter. You could try to, recruiting and developing a quarterback, Texas Tech. That's just another thing you could do besides just, writing the biggest check for everybody and just saying, but whatever. But yeah, that's the biggest no-no in sports. That is literally like anybody who's ever listened to sports media. If you're up late at night, you can't sleep on a long road trip. I'm sure you've heard the host say, oh man, if it's a slow time in sports, there's not really going on. You could always throw out the Pete Rose subject and then boom, the phone lines light up because you have a whole lot of people to say he should be banned. He bet on baseball. I don't care if he bet on his team to win. That's wrong. You don't bet on it. Period. End of story. Gone. Stay gone. I don't care what you accomplished on the field. You don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. You don't deserve to have any association with baseball. That's what happened to Pete Rose. And then you're going to have some other people now on the tech side of things and Cody Campbell that are like, well, now that they have a chance to write all these huge checks and that's the way the game is played, now Texas Tech finally has an opportunity to, quote unquote, be on the same level as all the big guys because before they never really were. Yeah, they had a moment with Mike Leach, a hot minute there. But overall, how many conference championships did Mike Leach win at Tech? Rhymes with 0. Just being honest, just state the facts. You might not like it, but that's the fact. So I'm just saying, you've got bigger fish to fry at Texas Tech. And the whole excuse of he's in rehab or he just couldn't help himself and we're going to try to, whatever. Y'all don't give a rip. Y'all want to win. Now that you can write all these big checks and you can just say, you know what? That's what we're going to do because, again, that's what the NCAA allows now. So NIL, let's go. Let's write the biggest checks we can, Cody Campbell, left and right. You just want to win. You've been the bottom of somebody's shoe. for the most part of your existence in college football. It is what it is, Tech. Don't hate the messenger. Don't kill the messenger. But now that you feel like you're something, now this falls in your lap that you just recruited. It kind of reminds me of Baylor and the whole Art Briles scandal. Baylor was pretty much, since the start of the Big 12 back in 96, Baylor was horrible. Baylor was the game when Texas had them on the schedule that week. It's like, I'm sure all the kids at Texas, all the second and third stringers were like ecstatic because they knew they were going to probably play at least a quarter because Texas is probably going to be up 45-0 at halftime. Baylor was just a, all right, well, they're in the conference. We've got to play this game. Let's do what we got to do. And the whole mindset for Texas in that game was, I'm sure, speculating here, never played at Texas, but I'm sure if I asked guys that played and said, hey, what was probably the mindset of going to that game? Execute, do what you need to do, take care of business, get out of the game with no injuries. Because you have a talent level that is nowhere close to equal in your favor. Baylor has no shot at winning those games. And then Art Briles shows up, and then they get some decent recruits, and then Texas kind of falls off a little bit with Mac Brown at the end of his tenure. And then Baylor kind of surges and takes advantage of that. And then they start winning, and then they have all the off-the-field problems. Funny how Baylor was just like, and Art Briles himself with the famous quote, can't we just talk about football? All of a sudden, when you start winning and you have a guy that wins a Heisman and everybody's talking about you and you're the darling of college football at that moment, you've never felt that. You've never been in that spot like, man, so this is what it feels like. When you finally get to walk in the room and everyone's looking at you like, oh, man, look, yeah, it's Baylor. At the end of the day, what happened to Baylor? If you ask me, I think they thought winning was more important. And a lot of horrible things happened there in the process. Now, I'm not equating to what happened at Baylor to gambling because that's not the same thing, and don't get me twisted by saying that. I made that analogy that once teams finally get a taste of the spotlight and finally get a taste of winning, they don't want to give that up. Because if they've been here at the bottom and now they finally start to rise up a little bit, nobody wants to give that up. Nobody wants to give that spotlight up. Nobody wants to go back to getting your doors blown off every week. The only shot you have of winning is playing like University of Buffalo in your season opener. Your out of conference schedule is just, Central Arkansas. You'll win that one. Sweet. Woohoo. Texas State maybe. I don't know. But then when you play the rest of your schedule, when you have to in a row of Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, you're just going to get absolutely pummeled in those games. So nobody wants to go back to that. That's human nature. Nobody wants to just be the punching bag of the league. But now the Tech has finally got a taste of that spotlight and a taste of what it feels like, and walking in that room and go, man, this is what it feels like. Man, this feels good. I like this. I don't want to leave. Well, we got a quarterback that's committing the ultimate sin in sports. Betting, but not only betting on your own team. That's the biggest no-no in sports. And now Tech is trying to get this kid cleared and get him in rehab and hope for the best and see if he can, period, end of story. This gets you to, they found out the moment he found and admitted, it's not like there's speculation and we're looking at, he admitted he bet on his own team. The moment that happens, gone, out the door, bye. College football career is over. Tech's fighting to keep that kid in. Okay. I think your priorities are a little whacked out, Tech. But hey, you're new to this whole thing of being in this neck of the woods with being discussed among the national media and people paying attention to your program. Joe McGuire's a great coach. He was very successful at the high school level. Good guy. I don't know him personally, but I've heard nothing but good things about him. I can pretty much guarantee if you got him off the record and said, does this kid deserve to be on this team? I'm speculating here 100%. But I just think the way a lot of these coaches and these old school kind of guys think, and the guys that I've watched growing up, there's no place for this in that team, in that league. But hey, now that he's on your team and this is the whole new world of NIL and who knows what, the wild, wild west of college football that we find ourselves in nowadays, it is what it is. But yeah. So yeah, in closing, Texas Tech, keep your tortillas. Don't get your tortillas in a bunch. Texas isn't scared. Texas isn't going to schedule you either because, again, they have nothing to gain. You're the equivalent of TCU. You're equivalent of Baylor. You tear down the goalposts. It's a huge event. You talk about it for 50 years. You talk about it at reunions when you go back to campus for homecoming. Oh, man, remember we beat Texas? And then Texas people, when they go back for a homecoming, you know what they're not talking about? Hey, remember we beat Tech in week 5? Senior year? Nope. Probably going to say, oh, man, remember the Cotton Bowl that year? Oh, it was a great game. Back and forth against OU. Beat them again. Oh, man, it was sweet. Oh, man, the bowl game that year. Got to the college football playoff. Who knows? Maybe won a national championship. Those things get remembered. Just saying. So, yeah, have fun. Keep your tortillas. No need to throw them anywhere. It's okay, Tech. It's going to be all right. So again, that's all for this one. Again, my name is Greg Schnoes, the host of the Schnoes Knows podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe always. If you could, please, we do appreciate it. Have a great weekend on Memorial Day. Don't forget, this is not just about pool parties and, beer and burgers. It's for people that made the ultimate sacrifice and never came back. Obviously, anybody who's been in the armed services, armed forces, thank you for your service, of course, but this is for the ones that unfortunately didn't make it back. That made that sacrifice so I can sit here and talk about this silly stuff for almost a half hour to make this silly podcast for you to listen to. That's what this holiday is about. So just don't forget that. So again, Schnoes Knows podcast. My name is Greg Schnoes. Talk to you soon. Have a great one. Bye-bye.